For the past 365 days, I've been investing $5 a day into the stock market every day. And today, I'm going to share exactly how much money I've made. But first, we have to back up a little bit, because this isn't just some stupid challenge I made up for the sake of making content. There's an actual reason and meaning behind this. We all have bad habits I'm sure we'd love to quit. Don't lie, I'm sure you do, and you know how hard it can be. For some of you, it may be smoking. For others, it may be just ordering too much takeout food. And me? I have a bad habit I really wanted to quit, but was having a really hard time letting go of. So really, this is the story of turning a bad habit into a good one. Because you see, I have a morning routine, except mine doesn't involve ice baths and meditation. It involves daily stops at a convenience store on the way to work to buy one of these. I am addicted to energy drinks. And it's not even that I really need the jolt of caffeine most days. It's just that they taste good, and I got in the habit of having something flavorful to sip on as I began my workday. But here's the thing, there's no way these things can be healthy for you. And on top of that, they're pretty damn expensive too. Anywhere from $3 to $5 a can, depending on which one I pull out of the cooler that day. So not only do I have an unhealthy habit I'm looking to kick, but a rather expensive one as well. But just telling myself that I was gonna stop, and today was the day I was just going to drive by and continue on my way to work, wasn't really working. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, but I am way more likely to do something if I'm incentivized to do it. So in order to kick the bad habit of buying a Red Bull on the way to work every day, I needed to give myself an incentive to stop. So I decided to try to end one habit by starting another, except I'd be turning a bad habit into a good one. Instead of spending all that money on an energy drink every morning, I'd take it and invest it into the S&P 500 instead. Trust me, I know. It's one of the most worn out and repeated cliches in all of personal finance. That if you only stopped buying Starbucks coffee every morning and invested that money instead, that after 30 years you'd have $1 million. Which, while true from a purely mathematical standpoint, is advice I absolutely hate. And the reason I hate that advice so much is because quitting the little things that may bring you joy isn't the way to build wealth. It's much better to focus your time and energy on the bigger wins in your financial life. You could save yourself more money in 10 minutes of negotiating the price of your next car than you would in 2 years of skipping your morning coffees. But here's the thing. My Red Bull habit doesn't really bring me much joy. It's not something that's making my life any better, and it's not really something I want to continue doing. It's just a bad habit I've fallen into, and I'm kind of getting annoyed at how much money I waste on it. So I decided, I'm spending $3 to $5 every day on these stupid things. Why don't I test out that old cliche and invest that money every day instead of buying the energy drinks? That way, not only do I have a healthier morning routine, but I get a little bit richer in the process. That's a win-win if I've ever seen one. And if you're unfamiliar, investing this way is called dollar cost averaging. It's an investing strategy where you don't time the highs or lows of the market. You invest consistently through all the ups and downs of the market, with the thought that at the end of the day, all of that volatility and its impact on your portfolio evens out. And in just a minute, we'll jump inside my account and I'll show you exactly how much money I've made over the course of this challenge so far. And you'll be able to see all of those ups and downs that the market took over the span of just a single year. But first, a little more about how I've structured this challenge, and we'll start with where I'm investing at. And for this challenge, I'm using a Robinhood account. And I chose Robinhood mainly because I already had the account sitting there with no money in it doing nothing, and Robinhood has an automatic investing feature where I can set it up to pull $5 a day every day from my bank account and invest it into the S&P 500 automatically. Because those of you who know me and have watched my videos in the past know, the more automated and hands-off you can keep your investing, the more likely you'll stick with your plan and end up seeing success over the long run. Secondly, why did I choose the S&P 500? And that part is simple. The S&P 500 is the gold standard as to what everyone else measures their investments against. When you hear an investor say they're trying to beat the market, or an investor can't beat the market, it's the S&P 500 they're using as that benchmark for the market. And to almost no one's surprise, almost all investors who set out to beat the S&P 500 fail in the long run. Another important factor in choosing the S&P 500, and if you're someone who can only afford to invest smaller amounts of money at any given time, this is important. Your money simply goes further when you're investing in a broad market index fund like the S&P 500. By investing in the S&P 500, or more specifically the ETF VOO, which I'm using for this challenge, my money gets invested in Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, and all the other top companies you hear so much about. I'm diversified into a complete stock portfolio from my first $5. If I tried to build my own portfolio of stocks on $5 a day, it would take me a really long time to build a diversified portfolio with any sort of meaningful amount of money in any of those given stocks. So now let's get into how much money I've actually made by investing $5 a day over the past year. Now, it's also important to note the stock market isn't open 365 days a year. And like I said, I want to keep my investments simple and hands-off. So I didn't try to tinker and make up for lost days where the market was closed for weekends or holidays or whatever else. I only made my $5 investments on open trading days for the stock market. I made my first $5 investment on August 1st, 2023. And 12 months later, I had invested $1,250 of my own money, which was good for a whopping 2.82 shares of the VOO ETF. And when we're talking about investing, let's be real, that number may not seem big at all. But let's remember, that number also represents the amount of money I would have spent buying energy drinks at the convenience store instead over that same time period. So, in that context, $1,250 seems massive. Now, my first purchase of the S&P 500 Index ETF VOO was made at a price of $419.22. And by dollar cost averaging every day over 12 months, my average purchase price of all of those individual $5 investments worked out to be $443.59 per share. And there have been plenty of dips and bumps in the road along the way, but the market has mostly gone up over the past year. And at day 365 of this experiment, VOO was trading at a price of $506.03 per share. $10.55 came from VOO's dividends, which were of course reinvested directly into more shares of VOO to help with my compounding returns. Just look at the growth from my first dividend, which was a whopping 75 cents, to my most recent one of $4.64. And you can kind of see how that compounding works. And another thing I really wanted to show with this experiment is that you don't need a ton of money to see the benefits of putting it to work in the stock market. Even a trivial sum of $5 per day can eventually grow into something worthwhile. And my account, which started at $0 365 days ago, has grown to $1,432.54, a gain of 15.03%. or just over $187. You can see from just the last year how the growth and the dividends both start to compound, even when we're talking about small amounts of money. And it's not bad when you consider the alternative. The plan for now is to keep this experiment going. And if you have any ideas for another experiment I can run alongside this, definitely let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.